Hello everybody. In the last lecture, I was discussing about the differential amplifier and we have derived the voltage gain, the differential voltage gain of the amplifier. In this lecture, we will be starting from there. Now we will be deriving the expression for differential input resistance and the output resistance. So first, it is differential input resistance that we are going to derive. The differential input resistance is defined as the equivalent resistance that would be measured at either input terminal with the other terminal grounded. So we should make the put the other terminal into the ground, and the differential input resistance thereby will be measured, and that should be the equivalent resistance at a particular input terminal when the other terminal is grounded. So one of the two terminals will be grounded, and the resistance measured at the other terminal with respect to the grounded terminal is the differential input resistance. This means that the input resistance Ri1 seen from the input signal source V1, V in 1, that means if we look from the input side of BJT1 where the input signal source V in 1 is applied, and the input resistance Ri1, if it is so Ri1 is the input resistance from input terminal, looking from input terminal of Q1 where the V in 1 is applied and the signal source V in 2 set at 0, and at that time V in 1 is the input signal and the other input source is shorted and V in 2 is 0, that is it is shorted to ground. Similarly, the input signal source V in 1 may be set to 0 to determine the input resistance Ri2. So Ri2 should be the input resistance likewise looking from input terminal of Q2 where V in 2 is the input signal, and in that case V in 1 is shorted to 0, and therefore usually the source resistances R in 1 and R in 2 are very small. That means the resistances which are connected in series with the sources. So we are considering here R in 1 and R in 2 very small. These are the source resistances. We have seen this in the circuit diagram of differential amplifier, source resistances, and hence in the calculations these will be ignored to derive the resistances Ri1 and Ri2. So therefore we can write Ri1 is equal to V in 1 by Ib1, because this is the input signal source and this is the input current. So this Ri1 is mod of this when V in 2 is set to 0, and this can be written as, instead of Ib1, if we write it in terms of IE1, so this is V in 1 divided by IE1 by beta AC, because we are using the AC values all in small values when V in 2 is equal to 0. So this can be written. Now already we have found in the previous lecture the expression for IE1. So therefore Ri1, if we substitute the value IE1, the expression IE1 from that derived expression, we can write beta AC V in 1 divided by the expression for IE1, which was small re plus capital RE, whole into V in 1 You can refer that lecture immediately to get this value, and then RE into V in 2 divided by RE plus RE whole square minus capital RE square. So this was the expression for IE1. So therefore RI1, if we put V into equal to 0 here, so this should be written as, and after the calculations and simplifications, beta AC V in 1 divided by RE plus RE into V in 1 and this should be 0, so this term will not be there, and this will be into RE square plus 2 RE RE plus capital RE square minus RE square, and these two will cancel out. So therefore RI1 will be beta AC V in, and if we take RE common from here, so this is RE plus 2RE divided by RE plus RE whole into V in 1. Okay, this is V in 1. So V in 1 will also cancel out here, and therefore this is beta AC RE RE plus 2RE inside the bracket divided by RE plus RE. So this is RI1. Now generally we have found that capital RE is far greater than small re because of the need of high voltage gain. This RE should be kept very high, and it implies that RE plus capital RE, this RE plus 2RE, this term will be, with respect to this 2RE, this RE can be, small re can be ignored from here. So if this is so, then we can write RE plus 2 capital RE is approximately equal to 2 capital RE, and RE plus RE in the denominator is approximately equal to RE. So putting this in the expression for RI1, we can write for RI1 beta AC RE into 2RE is divided by RE, and if RE is cancelled out from here, so this is 2 beta AC small RE. So this is the expression for RI1. So put it inside the box. Now similarly we can find RI2 looking into the circuit from the from the transistor Q2, that the and from its input side, considering V in 2 as the input signal source and V in 1 as shorted to 0. So therefore similarly we may write RI2 is equal to mod of V in 2 by IB2 when V in 1 is equal to 0. Okay. Now once again put the, in terms of IE2, write it as V in 2 divided by IE2 by beta AC inside mod when V in 1 equal to 0. Now substitute the from the last lecture the expression for IE2 over here. Therefore RI2 is given by beta AC V in 2 divided by RE plus RE into V in 2 minus RE into V in 1. Obviously this term will vanish because V in 1 is 0, divided by RE plus capital RE RE plus capital RE whole square minus RE square, and this will give us beta AC V into, within bracket, this RE square will be cancelled out, small r square plus 2 small re capital RE in the numerator divided by, this term will be 0, RE plus RE into V into. Okay, so now apply the same approximations. This RE plus RE is equivalent to RE. So first of all, in the numerator we have taken RE, small re as common and now we should be comparing the small re with capital RE. So therefore we should be writing here RE plus 2 RE, small re plus 2 capital RE is equivalent to 2 capital RE, and RE plus RE is equivalent to or approximately equal to capital RE, for RE is generally far greater than small re. Capital RE is far greater than small re. So in the expression of RI2 it should be written as beta AC RE, inside bracket it is 2 RE divided by RE, and therefore this is 2 beta AC RE. So therefore we have found RI2 is 2 beta AC small re. So this is the expression for input resistance at the input terminal of Q2. So now we can see from the, if we analyze the expression for input resistance, we can see that it depends on the AC beta, the gain of the transistors Q1 and Q2, and the AC emitter resistance. Now let us find the output resistance. The output resistance is defined as the equivalent resistance that would be measured at either output terminal with respect to ground, because it is balanced output. So therefore the output resistance RO1 for Q1 can be measured between collector C1 and ground, and that is equal to, you can if you go on to see once again the circuit for differential amplifier, this one, this was the circuit. If you once again see to the circuit, then the output resistance RO1, which is taken out from this collector terminal, measured between collector C1 of BJT Q1 with the ground, that will be equal to the collector resistor RC, that should be equal to this RC, because it will be the output voltage will be measured from this collector terminal, and absolutely the output resistance will be nothing but the RC, because RC will then be the working like the load resistance when we are measuring the output voltage from the collector terminal with respect to ground. So the output resistance is nothing but equal to RC for terminal for collector 1 and for collector 2 for both the BJTs. So in this case we can write RO1 is equal to RO2, both is same, and that is equal to RC. So this is the output resistance. The current gain of the differential amplifier is undefined, therefore the current gain equation cannot be derived for any of the 4 differential amplifier configurations. So we should be getting only the voltage gain. The current gain of differential amplifier is undefined, so that should not be found out. So therefore like the common emitter amplifier, the differential amplifier should be called a small signal amplifier, and it is generally used as a voltage amplifier and not current or power amplifier. So therefore the differential amplifier is essentially we have found a voltage amplifier and not a current or power amplifier. So this is the important conclusion regarding differential amplifiers. So this is all about the differential amplifier. Now let us, based on this concept of differential amplifier, move on to define two more things for op-amp, that is inverting and non-inverting inputs, because we have seen in the differential amplifier it is dual input configuration, so there must be two inputs and they are named as inverting and non-inverting inputs. In the differential amplifier circuit, which we have come across this one, or the basic circuit, the input voltage V in 1 is called the non-inverting input. That means this V in 1 which is applied to the input of the to the base of the Q1, and this base terminal for Q1 is called the non-inverting input. So this is non-inverting input. If we write fresh, V in 1 is non-inverting input because a positive voltage V in 1 acting alone will produce a positive output voltage, because if you apply any positive voltage at the input of the base of Q1, you should be getting a positive voltage at the output of at the collector, that is the output terminal of the Q1, and similarly, and if at that time the V2 is 0, so that means the output should be measured as the balanced output, and it should be so measured that if V2 is 0, that means there will not be any measurement with respect to this output terminal of the Q2. So therefore, if this V in 1 is acting alone, then it's the polarity of V in 1 will be same as the polarity of the output voltage at the output terminal of Q1. So that's why we can say that the non-inverting input will be that where the V1 is acting, V in 1 voltage, input voltage is acting alone. Similarly, the positive voltage V in 2 in the other input terminal of the other BJT Q2, if it is acting alone, it will be producing a negative output voltage, and hence the V in 2 will be called, it should be called inverting input. If at that time V in 1 is made equal to 0. So therefore, the base terminal B1 to which V in 1 is applied is referred to as, that means the base terminal of the BJT Q1 will then be referred to as non-inverting input terminal, and the base terminal B2 of Q2 will be called the inverting input terminal. Now if we consider the equation once again which we have derived, the voltage gain equation VO is capital RC by small re into V in 1 minus V in 2. If we consider this equation, this is called the voltage gain equation of differential amplifier. Voltage gain equation of differential amplifier. If we consider this equation, from here also we can explain the same thing, that is when V in 2 is 0, that means VO equal to RC by RE into V in 1 when V in 2 is 0. That means if V in 1 is acting alone, the polarity of V in 1 and the polarity of VO with respect to V in 1 is same. So the V in 1 is applied to the particular input terminal, that should be called the non-inverting input, because there will not be any phase change between the input and output voltages when the input is applied to the particular input which is called non-inverting input. Likewise, VO should be, if V in 1 is 0, this is minus RC by RE when V in 1 is 0. So therefore we are seeing that when the V in 2 is acting alone and V in 1 is 0, the output voltage, this is V in 2, the input and output voltage is having a 180-degree phase difference because it is of negative polarities. There is a minus sign before V in 2. So that's why the terminal or the input terminal where the voltage source V in 2 is being applied will be called inverting input terminal. The next parameter which we will discuss is about differential amplifier is common mode rejection ratio, in short, which is called CMRR. So this is an important property for differential amplifier. Now let us discuss what it is actually, from where it comes. An important characteristics of dual input balanced output differential amplifier is its ability to suppress undesired disturbances that may occur in its amplification process along with the desired signal. So there is a capability of differential amplifier to separate out the undesiredness or undesired disturbances from the output by suppressing it. Now when a matched pair of transistors is used in the making of the differential amplifier, the unwanted signals such as noise or hum pickup would appear as common to both the input terminals. That means the noise will be equally affecting both the input terminals, and therefore the net output would be theoretically be 0 because the net output will be an amplified form of the difference of the two inputs. We have seen that. So if the same noise input or the hum pickup is affecting both the inputs, so therefore theoretically the output should be 0, because if it is the same input, that means the difference of the same input, difference of the same thing means it is 0. So if the same noise or the same hum pickup is affecting both the inputs and we are going to make the difference of the two, then effectively or theoretically the output should be 0. But in practicality, the rejection of common signal, so when this same noise or hum pickup is affecting both the inputs, this is termed as the common disturbing signal for both the inputs, or in short it is called common signal. And the practicality of rejecting this common signal depends on the degree of matching between the two common emitter stages that is forming the differential amplifier. That means if there is some mismatch between the two stages which is making the differential amplifier, the chances of disturbances from the common signal will become high. So in other words, we can say the more closely equal are the currents in the transistors Q1 and Q2, especially at their input terminals, the better is the common mode signal rejection. So therefore, when the same signal voltage is applied to both the input terminals of a differential amplifier, it is said to operate in the common mode configuration. So what is common mode configuration or common mode operation of differential amplifier? Common mode operation of differential amplifier, it is actually when the same voltage is applied to both the inputs, is when same voltage, same means it is common, so that's why it is called common mode. Same voltage is applied at both the inputs of the differential amplifier, and the more close the input conditions of the two transistors which is making the differential amplifier, better will be the common mode signal rejection or the common mode disturbance rejection. So if we want to draw the circuit for differential amplifier in common mode configuration, it should be look like this. This is VCC. The two collector resistances RC is connected to the two transistors. The emitter is coupled with resistance to minus VE, and resistance is RE. This is Q1 and this is Q2. At the input of Q1, a signal source, alternating signal source is connected, which is V in, and the same signal is also connected, the same signal source is also connected at the input of the second transistor. So this is different common mode configuration or common mode circuit. Of differential amplifier. Now here you can see, since the same signal at both the inputs, the signal is derived from the same source, hence it is called common mode configuration, and this V in should be written as here VCM. CM stands for, this CM stands for common mode, so V in is equal to VCM in this case. So this is the common mode circuit, common mode circuit operation of differential amplifier. Now the ability of differential amplifier to reject a common mode signal is expressed, or it is measurable by its common mode rejection ratio. So in short it is called CMRR. CMRR means it is common mode rejection ratio. That means it is such a value, such an index or such a figure which indicates how well the differential amplifier will reject the common mode signal. So it is the indicator, it is the index for the differential amplifier to show us how well it can reject the common mode signal. So it is a value, it is a ratio which is having no unit, it is dimensionless. That it is the definition of CMRR is, it is the ratio of differential gain to the common mode gain. So this CMRR is in equation form given by AD by ACM, where this AD we have already seen is the differential voltage gain or differential gain, and ACM is the common mode gain, that is the gain achieved in this way of working, in this way of operating. The gain achieved by the differential amplifier is termed as ACM. This is common mode gain and common mode gain, and the ratio of these two, AD and ACM, is called CMRR, common mode rejection ratio. Now the common mode gain ACM can be determined like this. Let us apply a known voltage of VCM to both the input terminals of the differential amplifier as shown in this figure, like this. Okay, and let us measure the resultant output voltage VOCM with respect to this input voltage VCM. Then the gain of this amplifier denoted by ACM is given by VOCM, that means the output voltage with respect to the common mode signal, which is VCM at the input. So output by input is gain, you know. So gain, common mode gain is ratio of output due to common mode signal divided by the input to the common mode, input signal to in the common mode. So this is how to find the common mode gain, and this value is put over here to find the CMRR. Now if we analyze this expression CMRR, we can see that for ideal cases, when the differential amplifier is operating at its best, that means it is very best in the rejection of common mode signal, so therefore the common mode gain should be 0 and ACM should be 0 in that case. ideally we should expect ACM should be 0. That means the differential amplifier will be rejecting the common mode signal at its best. Then when ACM equal to 0, VOCM will be 0. So whatever be there a common mode signal at the input, there will be no output because of that common mode signal. So we would like to have in that case CMRR, ACM is equal to 0 means CMRR will be infinite. So ideally when ACM is 0, CMRR tends to infinity. Thus in practice it is advantageous to use a differential amplifier with high CMRR, as high as possible, since the amplifier will then be able to better reject the common mode signals. So what we have seen in terms of conclusion, we can say more is the value of CMRR for a differential amplifier, more better it will reject the common mode signal. That means the undesired disturbances in terms of noise or hum pickups. Now let us move on to the next configuration, dual input unbalanced output differential amplifier. In this configuration, since it is dual input, so two input signals are used and the output is measured at only one of the two collectors with respect to ground. So the difference with the previous configuration with this configuration is that in the previous configuration the output was measured between the two collector terminals of Q1 and Q2, but in this configuration the output will be measured at only one of the two collectors with respect to ground, leaving apart the other collector terminal, which is not considered for the output voltage measurement. So therefore the output is referred to as an unbalanced output. That means unbalanced means output measured from one of the two collector terminals with respect to ground. Okay. Now as because the collector at which the output voltage is measured is at some finite DC potential with respect to ground, so here we will be considering only that terminal for output voltage measurements. So in other words, we can say there is some DC voltage at the output terminal without any input signal applied, and so for the time being let us assume that before going into the details of explanation and analysis, for the time being let us assume that the output is measured at the collector of transistor Q2 with respect to ground. So let us first draw the circuit diagram for this mode of operation. So this is plus VCC. The circuit is basically the same as we have found in the previous case. The two inputs are applied as V in 1 with a source resistance R in 1 in series, and in the second transistor it is V in 2 with a source resistance R in 2 in series, and for this particular case we are considering the output is measured from the collector terminal of Q2 with respect to ground. So this is output measured with respect to ground. So let us first do the DC analysis to find the DC the voltage gain, input resistance and output resistance. Likewise we have found for the previous case when it was balanced output. Now the DC analysis procedure for this configuration is identical to the previous configuration because both configurations use the same biasing arrangement. So therefore the emitter current and emitter to collector voltage for the dual input unbalanced output this differential amplifier are determined from the can be determined using the same procedure as we have followed for the balanced type. So the equations I once again write the same equations without further deriving the same because the derivation will be the same. IE that is equal to ICQ given by VEE. If you refer once again the equations how we have derived for the previous configuration, it was VEE minus VBE divided by 2RE plus Rin by beta DC. This was for quiescent collector current, and the VCE it was given by VCQ, the quiescent collector to emitter voltage, that is given by VCC plus VBE minus RCICQ. So these were the two expressions which will be governing the DC operating condition for this, for the DC analysis of this configuration. Now let us do the AC analysis, which will be slightly different from the previous configuration. Now let us first draw the AC equivalent circuit of this configuration with small signal T equivalent model. Likewise we have done for the previous configuration also. So let us first draw the AC equivalent circuit. For AC analysis using the small signal T model. Now this was the main part of the transistor, of the two transistors. Now this is the T equivalent model, this portion for Q1 like the previous case, and also this was for Q2. This is the T model for Q1 and this is T model for Q2. Now what are the terms? This was V in 1 like the previous one, and this is the R in 1 plus minus because of the current direction is upward, and that is IB1 in this case, and this is IC1. This will be added to give in this direction IE1, and this is AC emitter resistance RE, small re, and this is the collector resistance RC. The current, as per the direction of current flow, this side is plus and this side will be plus and this side will be minus. So this is the collector terminal, base terminal and emitter terminal for the Q1. So the emitter terminal for Q1 and Q2 is same, which is this node. So therefore this resistance is nothing but RE, emitter resistance, and this is the collector terminal. So this is IC2, this side is plus and this side is minus, and this is RC, and the current flowing is IB2 in this branch. So this is nothing but R in 2, and the polarity is plus this side minus this side. This is V in 2, and this IC2 and IB2 will be combining as IE2 and this is RE once again. So the voltage drop is plus this side minus this side, and this IE1 and IE2 will be combined to flow as IE through this RE, plus this side minus this side. This is the drop. So this is the overall AC equivalent circuit for this configuration, which is same as the previous one. And the output voltage in the previous case was measured between the two collector terminals, that is between this point and this point in the last configuration. So here this was the measurement part of the output voltage for the last configuration because it was balanced output. But in this case the output is measured between the collector, which is this point, that means this node, and the ground. So here VO is measured between these 2 points, this collector terminal, and this is the ground. Between this the VO is measured. Okay. So this is nothing but, because of this measurement, it is unbalanced output. So let us now find the voltage gain for this configuration. And the current directions in this loop will be in this direction, and in this loop it will be in this direction, likewise the previous case. So considering the loop 1, suppose this is loop 1 and this is loop 2. So considering loop 1, we can write V in 1 minus R in 1 IB1 with due consideration of the polarities minus RE IE1 minus capital RE IE1 plus IE2, that is equal to 0. And considering loop 2, it is V in 2 minus R in 2 IB2 minus small re IE2 minus capital RE IE1 plus IE2, that is equal to 0. Now since these equations are same as we have written in the previous case, also in the previous configuration, the expressions for IE1 and IE2 will be the same as we have derived for the balanced output configuration also. And that was, we can write straight away without deriving once again the same thing. IE1 was given by RE plus small re plus capital RE into V in 1 minus capital RE V in 2 divided by RE plus RE whole square minus capital RE square. And IE2 was, because the derivation procedure will be the same as we have done for the last configuration, which was balanced output configuration. So this is RE plus RE whole into V in 2 minus RE V in 1 divided by RE plus capital RE whole square minus RE square. So the output voltage in this case is nothing but VO, which is actually VC2, that is the voltage across the collector and the ground of transistor Q2, that is given by, based on the direction of current movement, it is VO is plus at this side and minus at this side. But when it comes to the IC2, which is producing the potential drop across RC, and that is equal to VO, RC, the potential drop across RC will be having plus at the below terminal and minus at the upper terminal of the resistances. So that polarity is opposite to the external voltage measurement polarity. So that means the VO equal to VC2 will be with a minus sign, that is RC IC2, and that is equal to RC IE2, because we know IC, since IC approximately equal to IE. So therefore, if we substitute the value of IE2 from here, from this expression into this, we should get VO is given by minus RC RE plus RE V in 2 minus RE V in 1 divided by RE plus RE whole square minus RE square. So this was the expression. Now if we simplify a little bit, that is, if we take this minus sign inside, so therefore VO can be written as RC outside, and this is RE V in 1 minus RE plus RE V in 2 divided by, if we remove this bracket, it should be written as RE square plus 2 RE RE. Okay, so therefore this is RC into RE V in 1 minus RE plus let us have some little bit manipulation. Just remove this bracket and take the RE as common, capital RE as common. So V in 1 minus V in 2 minus RE V in 2, this one, divided by RE as common, then small re plus 2 capital RE. So this is the expression for this particular value for particular expression for VO. Now if we once again compare capital RE and small re, it is found that since capital RE is far greater than small re, so therefore VO can be written as this term RE V in 2 can be, small re V in 2 can be neglected with respect to this term capital RE V in 1 minus V in 2. So VO equal to RC into capital RE into V in 1 minus V in 2 divided by the small re can be neglected, in the denominator it is 2 capital RE small re. Okay, so now this can be rewritten as, therefore VO is given by RC by, this RE is cancelled out, and so VO is RC by 2 small re into V in 1 minus V in 2. So therefore we may write that VO is equal to RC by 2 small re into VID, where VID is given by V in 1 minus V in 2. Okay, so therefore differential gain in this case AD is given by VO by VID, and that is nothing but from this expression RC by 2 small re. So this is the formula for the differential gain for dual input unbalanced output configuration, and the differential gain is dependent on, as it is come up, that differential gain is dependent on the collector resistance RC and the AC emitter resistance RE. So if we now compare with the voltage gain of the previous stage, previous configuration, which was RC by small re, for balanced output the voltage gain AD was RC divided by small re, and here it is RC by 2 re. So we can conclude that the voltage gain for dual input unbalanced output differential amplifier is half the gain of dual input balanced output differential amplifier. So which configuration is better than dual input in terms of voltage gain? Dual input balanced output will be having twice the gain of the unbalanced configuration. The input and output waveforms of this configuration can be drawn like this. This is the time axis and this is the voltage axis. And if we draw the input waveform, it should be something like this. For one period, one time period or one cycle of waveform, so this is VID, V in 1 minus V in 2 equal to VID, and the output waveform should be an amplified form of this waveform for one cycle. So this is nothing but VO, which is VC2 measured across the collector terminal of Q2 only, and VC1 should obviously be opposite in phase to VC2. So this is the voltage VC1, which should be opposite in phase to VC2, which is shown here in the broken line, and that is not considered in the measurement of output voltage, but that is 180 degree out of phase with VC2. VC1 is 180 degree out of phase with VC2 in this case. So in this configuration, the DC voltage at the output terminal is the error voltage in the desired output signal. Therefore, to reduce the undesired DC voltage to 0, the configuration is generally followed by a level translator circuit. So in this configuration, we can find that since the output voltage is not measured considering the two collector terminals, so therefore in this configuration there may be a chance of a DC voltage to be represented to be mixed up at the output terminal, which should be the error voltage in terms of the desired output signal, and therefore to reduce that undesired DC voltage to 0, a particular type of circuit which is called level translator or level shifter that should be used with this configuration, which was not required for balanced case, because in balanced case both the output terminals were considered for the output voltage measurement. So there was no question of DC signal at the output to be mixed up in the AC analysis. But here in this case there is a chance of DC being mixed up in the AC output for unbalanced case. So therefore a level shifter or a level translator circuit is required to be connected with this configuration. So this is one of limitation of unbalanced output over and above the balanced output. So let us now and we will see how the level translator or the level shifter will work in a later lecture. Now let us discuss about the differential input resistance for this configuration. The only difference between the circuits from the previous configuration is in the way the output voltage is measured. However, the input resistance seen, because there is no change with the previous configuration in terms of input resistance measurement. So therefore the input resistance seen from either input source does not depend on the way the output voltage is measured, and hence the input resistance Ri seen from either input source of the circuit for this configuration should be same as that of the circuit in the balanced output configuration also. So therefore for the previous configuration and this configuration, the input resistance, the differential input resistance will be same. So differential, because there will be no dependency in terms of measurement of output voltage over input resistance, so the differential input resistance for previous and this configuration will be the same, and the way of measuring the differential input resistance, that means Ri1 should be equal to Ri2 in this case, and that is given by 2 beta AC Re, and this expression you can see the same as the expression for dual input balanced output configuration. And the output resistance Ro is measured similarly at collector C2 with respect to ground, at collector of Q2 with respect to ground, because in this case the collector of C1 is not taken into consideration because of unbalanced output configuration. So therefore the output resistance for this configuration will be equal to the collector resistor RC of terminal C2. So therefore whatever is the output resistance at collector terminal 2 or the collector terminal of transistor Q2, which is RC, that should be the output resistance for this configuration. So RO is equal to RC. So output resistance is equal to the collector resistance of collector terminal of transistor Q2. So this is all about the dual input unbalanced output configuration. Now for the rest two configurations where single input balanced output and single input unbalanced output, for the rest two configurations you can understand what is the difference between the two with these configurations. The balanced and unbalanced concepts are same as it is. We have done what we have done for the dual input cases. Only the difference of single input cases with the dual input cases is that there will be only one input to be applied at the base of either of Q1 or Q2, and that is the single input configuration, unlike the dual input configuration when the input voltage is applied simultaneously at both the bases of Q1 and Q2 of differential amplifier. And the procedure of finding voltage gain and input and output resistance through DC and AC analysis will be exactly the same. But in your syllabus the single input configurations are not that much required in details for you. Only the academic concept, for academic purpose only the concepts and connectivity is required. Only the logical analysis is required and not mathematical. All mathematical detailed derivation is required for single input cases. So that's why I am not going into the details of single input cases. Just I have only discussed the overview of single input dual single input unbalanced and balanced output cases. The configuration or the circuital connections are the same. Only difference lies with the single input with one input source at one of the Q1 and Q2 inputs. One of the Q1 and Q2 transistors base, only one input will be there, unlike the two inputs as we have seen for the both the configurations what we have done in details for dual input cases. So this is all about the differential amplifier analysis and explanations and derivations. Hope you have enjoyed. Thank you.